Hello and welcome back. In this Black Excellist presentation, we will highlight our BE20, our annual list of the most influential African Americans for 2020.
Welcome to blackexcellist.com, the site where we share Black excellence, opulence, and affluence. Our mission is to inspire you as we enlighten you.
Producing our BE20 is our way of honoring the innovators, the leaders, the public figures, and the game changers, whose work from the past year included breaking down barriers and paving the way for the next generation. This year's list of honorees is a reminder of the beauty of Blackness and the brilliance of Black excellence at a time when the political and cultural landscape has grown even more hostile to the idea of Black achievement. In this original Black Excellist video, we will be featuring the BE20, the most influential African Americans in 2020. So without further ado, let's get started. Number 1. George Floyd. Around 8 p.m. on May 25, 2020, Minneapolis police officers responded to a call from a store clerk who claimed George Floyd paid for cigarettes with a counterfeit $20 bill. The 46-year-old African American male was ordered to step from his car and a struggle ensued. Floyd was eventually handcuffed and pinned to the ground by police officers, two holding him down and another, Derek Chauvin, pressing his knee onto Floyd's neck with his full weight. Bystanders pleaded and begged for the white officer to remove his knee, but Chauvin continued to press his knee on Floyd's neck for a gut-wrenching period of 8 minutes and 46 seconds. The encounter, captured on video by a female bystander and widely shared on social media, led to community outrage and incited large protests against police brutality and systemic racism in Minneapolis, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Portland, Boston, and more than 150 American cities in all 50 states in the weeks and months that followed. Nationwide and worldwide, Black Lives Matter protests have led to marginal police reform, but significant progress is still necessary. There are calls for bans on tear gas, chokeholds, no-knock warrants, and demands for more accountability and transparency. Months of tense protests led voters to take their concerns from the streets to the polls, where they voted for a new administration in the White House and showed support for dozens of police reform measures across the nation. There are clear gaps between the widespread activism that occurred after Floyd was killed and the changes in the law that would need to occur from tangible police reform. In spite of this, the death of George Floyd brought police reform and racism to the forefront of the national conversation. Number 2. Yamiche Alcindor. She generally wears blazers, not capes, but her 10 toes down reporting from the White House's front lines of delusion and lies has made Yamiche Alcindor this year's journalism superhero. When Donald Trump ignored or interrupted her at multiple press briefings, calling her questions nasty and threatening, the masterful PBS NewsHour correspondent persisted in fact-checking the president's self-aggrandizing manipulations of the truth. Alcindor, who also covers race and social justice for PBS and contributes to NBC News and MSNBC, possesses a signature calm, always professional, always poised, always armed with accuracy, often with direct quotes straight from 45 himself, to ask the questions the people need to know. In March, #WeLoveYamiche trended on Twitter after one particularly contentious exchange went viral. But that's not just true in 2020. We love Yamiche for being a brilliant, tenacious reporter who happens to be a brilliant, tenacious Black woman hell-bent on extracting the relevance from every story she tells. Number 3. Colin Kaepernick. Since Kaepernick first refused to stand for the national anthem in 2016, Colin Kaepernick has prevented America from allowing football to be the country's favorite escapism from racial injustice, even at the expense of his on-field career. After the death of George Floyd, nearly every major sports league, including the WNBA, the NBA, the National Women's Soccer League, the Premier League, Major League Baseball, and yes, even the NFL, has seen its athletes protest or take a knee during the national anthem in support of racial justice. As the pandemic pummeled Black and Latinx communities, CAP's nonprofit Know Your Rights Camp and Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights jointly committed $1 million to fund the release of incarcerated people who were vulnerable to the coronavirus and unable to afford bail. Kaepernick's change-making is recoloring media too. This year, he led his production company, Raw Vision Media, into a first-look deal with Disney and formalized a partnership among Kaepernick Publishing, Audible, and Medium, where he's the newest board member to create storytelling platforms for Black and brown writers, directors, and producers. His activism has had a visible impact on other influential athletes. Number 4. Cori Bush. Cori Bush first leaped to national attention when she was featured in the Netflix documentary Knock Down the House as an everyday Black woman doing extraordinary things, working as a registered nurse, an ordained pastor, and a mother, while also running for office in the congressional district that includes St. Louis and Ferguson, Missouri, where Mike Brown was killed. Though Bush lost her ambitious attempt to beat the Democrat incumbent, William Lacey Clay, in both 2016 and 2018, clearly not an easy feat, given that the Clay family had held the seat since 1969. In 2020, voters gave her the dynasty-ending win, putting her on the verge of becoming Missouri's first Black congresswoman. Her promise to fight for real change in the lives of people in her community, people like her, through policies like Medicare for All and a $15 minimum wage, is now resonating more than ever. It doesn't hurt that Bush herself was a protester in Ferguson during the 2014 uprisings and makes no bones about what is driving her to representative politics, even as her star rises higher. As long as I'm bringing home deliverables to my community, as long as there are little Black girls and all kinds of other children coming up to me saying, I want to do that, that's what it's about, the mother of two said after making headlines with her primary victory. Number 5. Symone Sanders. Symone Sanders is a master at balancing the mechanics of politics with the real-world expectations of real-world people. And that brilliance has been Joe Biden's godsend since she joined his campaign as a senior advisor in 2019. When a protester suddenly rolled up on her boss, also the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee, Sanders displayed Dora Milaje-like reflexes to protect his safety, proving once again that she's the head woman in charge in whatever situation should arise. In one of the most urgent and pivotal elections in American history, she works to connect Biden to essential voting blocs and mediate his fractured relationship with influencers like Black women and young Black people to make November 3, 2020 victorious. A behind-the-scenes strategist with gobs of out-in-front personality, Sanders has been as seen on TV everywhere, especially this year. MSNBC, CNN, even an appearance on The View. In May, she added author to her resume of accomplishments after the release of her first book, No, You Shut Up, Speaking Truth to Power and Reclaiming America. Number 6. Patrisse Cullors, Alicia Garza, Opal Tometi. For the past 20 years, Patrisse Cullors has devoted herself to criminal justice reform and the liberation of Black, impoverished, disabled, LGBTQ, and other marginalized communities. As a co-founder of Black Lives Matter, Cullors continued to build on her legacy of activism this year when on July 4th, she launched an aerial collaborative project, In Plain Sight, to combat and spread awareness about mass incarceration. A native of Los Angeles, she also founded Dignity and Power Now, an organization that provides health and wellness programs to incarcerated people in LA, their families, and surrounding communities. Often cast by some on the right as a Marxist boogie woman out to destroy America, Cullors has turned that vitriol into fuel for her 2018 New York Times best-selling book on life, When They Call You a Terrorist, a Black Lives Matter memoir. Co-founder Alicia Garza continues her trailblazing activism to empower the Black community as head of the Black Futures Lab, which works with Black people to transform our communities, building Black political power and changing the way that power operates. Earlier this year, the lab released the Black Agenda, a point-by-point list urging political leaders to enact policies that will help destroy the barriers that have hindered Black prosperity and diminished our political power. But Garza isn't limiting her search. She's branching out into film as she joins a star-studded cast that includes Oprah Winfrey, Angela Bassett, Courtney B. Vance, and Felicia Rashad in the film adaptation of Ta-Nehisi Coates' New York Times bestseller, Between the World and Me, which is set to air on HBO. Garza released a new book in October, The Purpose of Power: How to Build Movements for the 21st Century, in which she delves into her experience fighting for Black lives, shares her knowledge about organizing, and discusses racial history. Heralded as a feminist freedom fighter in the U.S. and now a global icon, co-founder Opal Tometi is an award-winning advocate, strategist, and writer who has used her voice to ensure that race, immigration, and gender justice remain at the forefront of global conversations. The daughter of Nigerian immigrants, Tometi experienced first-hand challenges that her tight-knit Black immigrant community faced while growing up in Arizona. She witnessed the heartbreaking human rights crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border, and as a result became an outspoken community organizer. Opal spent 8 years as executive director at the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, BE20, an organization that helps Black immigrant communities mobilize and advocate for social and economic justice. Assuming her role as the first woman director at age 27, Opal worked on the reunification of families in the wake of the Haiti earthquake in 2010 and boldly challenged unjust deportations. She went on to speak on behalf of immigrants to the United Nations at congressional briefings, at the Atlantic Ideas Summit, Harvard and Yale universities, on the TED stage, and over 100 more stages around the globe. Opal is a trusted advisor and board member to many organizations and initiatives, and often travels internationally to support human rights initiatives. And while her career has been impressive, so too are her accolades, including being named one of Time's 100 most influential women of the century. Number 7. Dr. Arabia Mollette. When the COVID-19 outbreak ripped through the country, Dr. Arabia Mollette, an emergency room doctor at St. Barnabas Hospital in the Bronx, New York, and Brookdale University Hospital Medical Center in the Brooklyn neighborhood of Brownsville, described her emergency room as a war zone. The pandemic exacerbated the disparities in health and wealth that she had already been seeing in her practice, and in a heartbreakingly candid op-ed in the New York Daily News, she described her grim daily reality on the front lines to save lives in a broken healthcare system. "Whenever I take a 5-minute break, I use it to let out my tears," she wrote. "Doctors are human too, and we sometimes get scared, for you and for us." Dr. Mollette's inclusion on this list is also an honorable mention to the thousands of doctors, nurses, medical workers, and ER staff who have been working tirelessly this year to take care of the COVID-19 patients with limited resources. It's been tough and overwhelming, but our medical work has been maintaining an optimistic attitude in battling not only COVID-19, but also managing trauma and critical care cases as well. Number 8. Issa Rae. Issa Rae's Hollywood resume just keeps growing. This year, the fabulous phenom was nominated for a lead actress in a comedy series in this year's Emmy Awards for her HBO series Insecure. This will be the second time that the 35-year-old actor, writer, and producer has been nominated for a Golden Globe, but her show is celebrating perhaps its strongest season yet in 2020, garnering an additional 7 Emmy nominations. Rae was also an executive producer on the Emmy-nominated Black Lady sketch show and helped diversify the big screen opposite Lakeith Stanfield in the romantic drama The Photograph and Kumail Nanjiani in the action comedy The Lovebirds. The Senegalese-American powerhouse shows no signs of slowing, as she has signed up for a few film feature adaptations and more major projects with HBO. As if that weren't enough, Rae also launched her aptly named radio record label with Atlantic Records and helped reinvigorate NBA fans via a series of ads for the league. Issa Rae's star has continued to rise since 2011, when she first garnered attention for her work on the YouTube series Awkward Black Girl. She continues to expand her brand and influence Hollywood with a multitude of short films, web series, and other content created by and for Black people. Number 9. Remoshay Nelson. Captain Remoshay Nelson made history in 2020 as the first Black woman to wear the emblem of the Thunderbirds, an elite U.S. Air Force squadron that had only counted a total of 12 African Americans in its numbers since it was established in 1953, all of them men. The Howard alumna and Delta Sigma Theta soror says her experience at the HBCU helped imbue her and with the confidence to break high ground as an African American woman, to walk into the world knowing where I came from and where my people come from and where we can go. That confidence and 8 years of mostly overseas service with the Air Force propelled Nelson to her current rank as an officer of the gravity-defying Thunderbirds, known for their flyover jet demonstrations. While also serving as the Thunderbirds' public affairs officer, she has joined them in giving salutes from the sky to healthcare workers and everyday people across the country, continuing to spread hope and inspiration even during the coronavirus pandemic. Number 10. LeBron James. LeBron was crowned king again in 2020 for both his heroics on the court as well as off the courts. The Los Angeles Lakers superstar made a significant impact on the 2020 presidential election after launching More Than a Vote, a voting rights group that includes other NBA and WNBA superstars that set out on a mission to increase African American voter education and turnout. Not only did he lead the effort to help formerly incarcerated people get financially cleared to vote in Florida, but he was instrumental in the negotiations with NBA owners to convert several of the arenas into mega polling sites for November 3rd. And we're leaving out one small accomplishment for 2020. James led his Lakers basketball franchise to their 17th championship while earning the NBA Finals MVP award. His basketball skills and his unrivaled leadership was on full display during the 2020 season that was rocked not only by playing the bubble during the COVID-19 pandemic, but also by the protests and upheaval resulting from the murder of George Floyd. LeBron leveraged the movement and pulled his fellow athletes and NBA All-Stars together to engage directly with democracy and use their platform to promote the Black Lives Matter movement. The Akron, Ohio native was given new national recognition when he was recently named Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year of 2020. Job well done, King James.
We appreciate the fact that you stayed with us until the end. Thank you for spending time with us, and don't forget to like this video. Also, make sure you subscribe so that you never miss a video. Bye for now. We will see you tomorrow.